Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Framerate is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Framerate is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies streamed to your PC, Mac, or TV instantly. Plus, get DVDs by mail in about a business day. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free 14-day trial, go to squarespace.com/framerate and be sure to check out their annual plans for savings of up to 20% off.
All right, so what we're about to see here is a 2-minute trailer for an independent short film that at first I thought was pretty rough, but the more it went on, the more I fell in love with this project, and I cannot wait to talk about it in the full episode. Here we go.
You won't be able to hurt me, okay? I'm gonna tighten my abs. It protects my organs. Now hit me.
No.
Hit me.
No.
Come on, hit me.
No.
Do it. Yeah. Oh,
I'm sorry.
what the hell?
I'm sorry,
You
Scott.
didn't say that hard.
Scott is the greatest dungeon master ever. His commitment, his attention to detail, his passion, his whole life is Dungeons and Dragons.
Whoa. Okay, -2 for a half action plus a regular action, but cancel that with a charging bonus, and you provoke an attack from this opponent. Martin, you're still healing. Everyone roll initiative. D&D is not just a game.
Real jousters would never wear that kind of armor. That's Renaissance style armor. Just saying.
I already have the Dumbledore toy. Can I get a different one? It's communal storytelling. Who put the Spider-Man number 16 with the X-Force storyline? I know they had a crossover, but...
Scott, you don't work here anymore.
It's a reawakening of man's oldest traditions.
And I weep for the women of your generation.
You think your Xbox can do that?
I don't have an Xbox.
The question was rhetorical.
Scott, we need a new player.
What's up? I'm Miles.
You play D&D?
I write articles for DeepDome.com.
Scott has a blog, but nobody reads it.
6 visitors a week is nobody?
Everybody likes Miles.
Check it out.
Whoa. He's smart, he's funny, and he can name every alien from Star Trek in alphabetical order.
Anyone can do that.
I am going to seduce the elf with my high charisma.
She's a high priestess of Pelor. She's sworn to celibacy. You'd have to roll a 20.
Yes! Yes!
Oh my God. He's not one of us, Wayne. People like us have built this culture on a century of oppression and loneliness. And now it's being co-opted by a bunch of neo-nerd, hipster douchebags for profit. You are the coolest guy I've ever met. It's not like they choose him over me, right? We gotta stop him, Wayne. Not just for us, but for nerds everywhere.
I'm not a nerd.
Yes, you are, Wayne. Be proud of it.
What the hell are you doing with your life, Scott? When your grandfather was your age, he had a wife, 2 kids, and a house he built himself.
Wasn't he a drunk, too?
I'm worried about it.
I quit.
You can't help him, Wayne.
You're a douchebag. But I got news for you. I eat douchebags for breakfast.
Ew, dude.
You think anyone's gonna want to play with you again? You're finished.
You're all just jealous.
You better find a way to support yourself and fast.
I'm the greatest dungeon master to ever live. The gods demand retribution. Do you think my life is all fantasy, Ulrich?
I'm probably not the best person to answer that question, lad.
It's Framerate.
That's right, sucker.
It's coming to get you. Hello and welcome to Framerate. I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Brian Brushwood. Whether or not that's Sarah Lane remains to be determined, but Framerate is my day of the entire week. How you doing, Tom Merritt?
I am glad to be back, and big thank you to Sarah Lane for filling in last week. That was a fun episode. I listened to it over the weekend.
She was fantastic,
rocked
dude.
it. Yeah.
And let me tell you, there was nothing like trying to fly solo to make you realize how much you appreciate your co-host. Because when I opened the design document for the show flow and saw it completely empty, it was like 2 hours before the show, I realized, Tom does so much for the show. But I'm glad we were able to stumble through everything. It was a total blast. Big Sarah Lane.
Tell me more about how awesome I am.
All right, I don't want to inflate your ego. You were busy off eating Montreal food and
smoked meat, poutine, Montreal bagels. It was awesome.
I just see the problem is I can't talk it up too much because then you'll be comfortable going on vacation again, and so we got to put it in, dude.
That's right. But hey, what a pick for our opener there, which I think this week worked just as well on audio as it did on video.
Yes.
The trailer. What's the name of the movie again?
The show is called Zero Charisma.
Oh, it's a show. It's not a movie.
Well, no, it is a movie. It's a small independent film,
Okay.
and they just made their numbers through Indiegogo. We'll talk about it later on in the Interferon segment, but when I first started watching it, it looked a little bit amateurish to me, but by the end of it, it was obvious that this movie has a voice that speaks to certainly the type of people who are watching the show right now. I loved the trailer, and if you haven't seen it online, just go to Vimeo, type in Zero Charisma, and you'll be able to find it on there.
All right, we'll talk about a little more in Interferon, but first, the big story.
This just in, the big story.
Android Central points out a Google support document says that if you are using a rooted Android device, you will not be able to play movies from the brand new Google Movie Store available on Android 3.1. Now, right now, this only affects Motorola Zoom users, but Android 3.1 is going to roll out to a lot of devices. You will get Error 49, and Google says this is on purpose, that rooting is not supported for copyright-protected movies.
So here's the thing. You can't play it both ways. The reason the people who love the Droid that I know are passionate about the fact that everybody seems to be cool with you rooting and installing your own custom kits and everything. You can't play that benefit up and then turn around and go all Steve Jobs on us with that kind of thing. And I don't know. I suspect there may be a showdown brewing on whether or not Droid users are going to be cool with it, because people who root their phones are not doing anything wrong. They're doing something that's supported by, as far as we know, the carrier. Certainly supported by, the software manufacturer. They're just upgrading the operating system to a new or independent operating. It's the equivalent of buying a computer and installing Linux on it. There's nothing criminal about installing Linux on it. You're just taking hardware that you own and installing different software on it. It doesn't mean that you're a criminal, but the fact that there exists tools on Linux, and I'm messing up the metaphor here, but the fact that there exists or may exist tools that would allow you to capture it in a Droid device that's been rooted is bogus, that they would use that as justification to not let anyone who's their phone actually enjoy streaming movies.
Yeah, I almost think the metaphor is hard. It's hard to make, because you're not installing a brand new operating system. You are modifying the software on your device to perform differently than it was installed. You're getting root access. It would be as if Windows 7 shipped without the ability for you to have admin access, but through a software hack, you were able to gain admin access and have much more control over the way the operating system worked. Instead, when you buy Windows or any operating system, OS X included, you get root access because you want to have control over your entire machine. With phones, they've never had to give people root access because you really couldn't do much with it in the past. So it was fine to just lock that down. It was a good security measure. It's still a good security measure, but if you want to gain root access and have more control over every aspect of your phone, you shouldn't be prevented from doing that unless they can show some sort of like unmanageable harm to the network, which they can't. I don't see why that would happen. What is going on is not Google saying, well, we don't like you to have root access. What's going on is the deals that they had to sign the deal with the devil they had to sign to get these movies available on Android platforms prevents those movies from being played on rooted phones and rooted tablets because of what you said, Brian, because they're worried that if you have a rooted device, it'll make it easier to capture the video and pirate things. Now, answer me this, Brian Brushwood. If you said absolutely there are no rooted Android devices in the world, would that eliminate all copies of every copyrighted movie or TV show?
No, first of all, that's idiotic. And this whole thing is a lose-lose situation. I understand that they're afraid, and I understand that they have shareholders that they have to please. So they come up with an idiotic solution like this. The problem is that it, number one, punishes people who have done no wrong. And in fact, anyone who roots their Android device, whether it's a tablet or a phone, these are the people who are most passionate about their device, who love the freedom and capabilities that they have with it. So these are the people who get punished by being told that they can't stream the movies. Number two, these are also the kind of people who will take exactly 38 seconds to download some kind of patch that's a workaround for this restriction. There's going to be something written in about 8 minutes that will fool something this. Oh, no, I'm not a rooted device. I'm totally legit. And then they'll stream anyway, and they still probably won't be capturing it for home use. Why? The whole thing with streaming, the whole benefit to streaming is that it's a hedge against piracy because you want to bet since it's easier to stream than to pirate, people will pay the convenience charge. And so to react this way is it's idiotic, it's unhelpful, and it's not going to derive them any kind of benefit whatsoever.
The majority of people who have an Android device do not root it. That is plain. The people who root their Android devices are people who are experimenters, people who are tweakers, people not tweakers like the drug sense, but you know they like to mess around with stuff and get more out of it. Some of them are very serious hackers. Some of them are very casual. It's like maybe rooting is as far as they go, but they just want to have a few extra features. But they are also the most likely part of the audience to know how and have the motivation to go and find a non-authorized copy of your movie. So you've just said you, who are most likely to be able to go find a non-authorized copy, we are now going to push towards finding a non-authorized copy by stopping you from being able to play the authorized copy. And that makes no sense to me.
Not only does it provide a benefit for them to get the unauthorized copy, but it actually provides a more justification for having done it. They cast the first stone. And don't be surprised when you act this way, when people who otherwise would never think of going out and capturing stuff, they're definitely going to download patches that are going to trick your systems. And you are creating criminals. You are running your own freaking scam school by causing people to be marginalized. People who otherwise would have been totally law-abiding citizens, you do it this way, and you're going to cause people to want to go ahead and be like, well, I might as well go ahead and download this patch. And now they're looking at all the other things that they can get away with that are less than legal on their rooted device.
I think that I can almost guarantee that every single one of these movies that is available on the Android movie store is already available on BitTorrent. That the source of them is not going to be someone on their dinky little phone doing a screen capture of the low bit rate, or even on a Motorola Zoom tablet. That is not the source of your problem. So it all, as you've pointed out before, and as I've reiterated, you're only punishing the honest here.
Well, and now, if we can, now I think we're all in agreement here, and certainly anyone listening, I assume, is in agreement as well. But what do you think that is it a case of pleasing the shareholders is what causes these kind of idiotic decisions to be made? Is this something that someone in a cubicle thinks will look good on a quarterly statement? Or how do you do something that will have the unintended consequence of doing the exact opposite of what you actually want?
I don't think in this case it has to do with shareholders, because it's the movie industry. It's the MPAA that is usually pushing these restrictions. So it's not about a particular company trying to please its bottom line. It's about an entire industry thinking about the problem in a way that's different than the way you and I think about it. They think about the problem as, we have product out there that people are copying. And so the solution, stop them from copying it. Every instance where they could copy it, we need to stop them. And there is a perfect internal logic to that. But the issue with it is not that they shouldn't try to protect their property. The issue with it is they're not protecting their property by doing it, and all they do is harm the people who are trying to respect their property, and they don't see that. They think that sounds like an excuse. That sounds like babies complaining, and that people just need to play along, and this is the price you have to pay if you want to consume our great movies, and you shouldn't be rooting your phone anyway. The only reason you'd root your phone is piracy. It's an inability to take into account the wider implications of how the internet works. At least that's my theory.
Well, no, I totally agree. And the thing is from their perspective, oh, well, the only thing we're doing is we're shutting down pirates or we're protecting our rights. But you've got to realize it's a two-way street. It matters that you are manufacturing pirates when you do a policy like this. This kind of draconian, lazy idiocy will only undermine your own ability. And let me tell you, in the short term, I understand where you're coming. Well, here's what will make everyone criminals. That'll work in the short term. But sooner or later, everybody's going to realize that, you know what? I'm 40 years old now, and I have 2 kids, and I'm tired of being called and by the letter of the law being a criminal. These people are going to vote, and I understand that you got a lot of money to buy a lot of politicians, but sooner or later, these kind of policies are going to bite you in the ass, and you're going to wish you hadn't done it. You're going to wish you had come to a sensible solution earlier on.
And one of those sensible solutions would be making your videos available on more platforms, like we're going to talk about in another big story.
Stop everything. It's another big story.
Hulu Plus has finally made it onto a set-top box people use. At least that's the way Jackie Chang wrote it on Ars Technica, and I think she's right. TV users can access Hulu's back catalog of TV seasons and watch episodes not available to free Hulu users from the comfort of their TiVo premieres now.
All right, so 2 things on this. Number one, this is how long ago did Netflix start showing up on set-top devices that we actually used?
Well, Netflix is not available on TiVo, is it?
No,
I don't know.
not
so
on
what
TiVo.
Jackie's saying is, look, yeah, Hulu Plus has been available on Roku. It's available on all these boxes, but nobody buys those. TiVo has the market penetration. Netflix has been available on televisions. It's been available on game consoles. But I think now I'm seeing your point. Game consoles are things people use.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, is Plus available on game consoles?
Hulu Plus is available on the Xbox.
All right, well, I've missed it. But number one, congratulations on the TiVo.
Netflix is available on TiVo, says Comp Mike, if you believe Comp Mike, which I do.
See, number one, this is an announcement that finally Hulu Plus arrives to the party, and when it arrives to the party, everyone's like, I'm sorry, you're Hulu who again? Like, TiVo Plus has a major identity crisis. If you went, and I understand that it's our job. This is what we live and breathe. And for the life of me, I get fuzzy when I try to describe what the benefits of TiVo Plus are.
You mean Hulu Plus? You're saying TiVo. You're saying TiVo Plus. You mean Hulu Plus, right?
That's exactly what I mean.
Okay.
Thank you very much. But Hulu Plus has a major identity crisis in that most people have no idea what it means. If you ask most people, well, I know what Hulu is. That's where you go to watch last night's television shows. Hulu Plus means, I don't know, some kind of back catalog or something, I guess. So not only is it late, but it shows up without a clear explanation of what it is. I got to tell you, man, we've been talking about the coming war between Hulu Plus and Netflix for a long time, and Hulu Plus just seems late to the party. It has a major marketing crisis on its hands, and it's not acting like it. It's not making enough. It's not using PR news wires to explain about all the acquisitions that it's got. I think Hulu Plus is in danger of being completely irrelevant.
I think Hulu Plus is in danger of being irrelevant too, but not for the reasons you state. I think most people just think Hulu Plus is more Hulu. And in lots of cases, like on the TiVo, it's the only way to get Hulu on the TiVo. So I'm like, oh, okay. I get Hulu on my TiVo, but I have to pay $8 a month. I think that's a very simple proposition, and Hulu's kind of playing off that. Like, hey, it's just Hulu on the TiVo, right? Hulu Plus, it just means it's on the TiVo. But what the problem is when I pay for Hulu Plus, and then I go to it on my TiVo or on my Xbox or on my iPad, and I'm like, all right, I know Stargate Universe is on Hulu. Let's watch it. Not available on Hulu Plus. Oh.
Exactly.
Well, what about this other TV show? Not available on Hulu Plus. Well, it's available on Hulu. Why is it not available on Hulu Plus? Why are the things I want to watch not available on the thing I have to pay for, but available on the thing that's free. I actually just suspended my Hulu Plus subscription because I was never using it.
Well, and you were a pretty big defender of in the discussions we've had. You were big on the potential of Hulu Plus, so it's a big deal to me that you suddenly just quit.
Well, and I still am big on the potential of Hulu Plus. The idea of saying, look, we're going to have a certain amount, like the past 5 episodes of a show available on Hulu, and then everything you get on Hulu plus more is available for a subscription. I think that's brilliant. The problem is they're not giving you everything you get on Hulu for free, and that just is idiotic. So why would I bother paying for something that doesn't give me what I can get for free, especially if I'm not even using it that often? I don't go to Hulu that often. But now when I go to Hulu, I just go to Hulu on the web because I have less hassles with it. And why would I pay $8 to have a hassle and not understand, like, well, sometimes it's available here and sometimes it's not. And you just forget it. It's just not worth the hassle that I'm paying for. I'm not going to pay for hassle.
From a brand perspective, and this may not be an appropriate metaphor, but from a branding perspective, Hulu Plus is looking more and more like the PC to Netflix's Apple. And what I mean by that is Hulu Plus is very volatile. You've got new shows coming in, new shows going out. It's very up to the minute, depending on what agreement is with what network for what shows, time. And but Netflix is very, very simple. It's like when it's available, it's awesome and complete for the most part. Like I can't think of any. Oh no, I guess early on, now that I think about it, I know a couple of years ago I tried to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I remember the first season was on instant and the rest were on DVDs. But I'm seeing that less and less. It seems like it's much more complete archives of older shows on Netflix to where I can enjoy all of them straight through without this kind of mishmash hodgepodge thing. When I think of Hulu, I think of nothing but a mishmash hodgepodge of this ethereal foam of shows that are popping in and out of existence, like some kind of quantum foam. Whereas when I think of Netflix, I think of archives that are complete, and I can go through and beginning to, or at least, if not the end, then whenever they decide to cut it off for the instant streaming.
The value proposition of Netflix is that you'll have a bunch of stuff available to stream. It may not be everything under the sun. It may not be, catch up on last night's TV show, but you'll have a lot of cool stuff available for this price. The value proposition of Hulu is catch up on TV episodes. And when you can't deliver that in the paying version as well as you do in the free version, it fails.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Right.
All right. We've complained about streaming movies on the internet. We have not yet complained about 3D TV. So let's do yet another big story.
Tuck in your bootstraps. It's yet another big story.
Actually, I'm not going to complain about this. This is pretty cool. I think what I'm going to complain about is the fact that I can't buy it yet. But Nisho in Japan has started selling 52-inch televisions with glasses-free 3D TV, full HD resolution.
All right, now when we went out to CES, we got to see these types of television in person, the lenticular displays. And on paper, what you hear about is all the problems with them. The fact that you have to be at the right angle, that if you move your head, you start to see these jagged lines down the side as your eyes are not in the right spot. But I think on balance, you and I felt like the potential of this kind of television was much larger than any of the glasses television. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And what's the problem if, I have to sit in a particular place to watch TV, or I have to wear glasses? To me, those are almost the same thing, which is like, well, if I have friends over, I have to buy them a bunch of glasses at $100 a pop. So I'm going to add one more complaint to my complaint that it's only available in Japan, and that's the fact that it's going to cost me 1.7 million yen, which is $20,000 plus.
That's fine with me, man. Do you remember just like
you're gonna drop 20K
years ago? No. Remember 6 or 8 years ago, I remember reading some story that Mark Cuban bought a 100-inch high-definition display, and he paid $15,000 for it or whatever. It's like, look, we know the price is going to come down. What we want to see are these first steps. And so let's say this becomes the Tesla of 3D displays, and then rich people buy it, and then it comes down, and then the next phase is the Microsoft technology where it tracks up to 5 pairs of eyeballs. I don't know if that's the right number, but adjusts on the fly by actually tracking where your eyes are and flexing so that it becomes this 3D window. I think there's a lot of potential here, and I'm glad to see that at least somebody, even if it's a poor implementation of it, even if this is an unaffordable dream for people, at least somebody somewhere is hearing the consumer saying, guess what? Glasses that make you sick and dim the show, not such a good option.
What I like what I like about this is it's a 4-man splinter group from Philips, former Philips employees. So some folks who thought, you know what, inside the corporate enterprise, it's not working. Let's break off. Let's start our own deal, and let's focus on refining glasses-free 3D. That gives me hope that these guys actually know how to crack this nut, whereas the demonstrations we saw at CES, those were from huge companies that may or may not be focusing on that. And in fact, they may be only focusing on it as a way to sell their other HD TVs by saying, hey, look, we're innovators. We've got a glasses-free 3D. These guys are serious. These folks are saying, we have one job, that's to make glasses-free 3D TV work, and they are coming to market, albeit with a very expensive model that they think is a good first step.
I wonder how much of that actually is out there. I wonder if there's a lot more of engineers who know what they're doing is the wrong idea, that people won't like it, that they're choosing the cheap and easy solution rather than the quality solution that will require a lot more effort to happen. But meanwhile, for whatever reason, they're being told, like, no, this is what we want to do because we think we can make money on this in the short term. What I worry about is from a branding perspective, if all of these shabby glasses-driven 3D displays wouldn't actually harm the brand of 3D in the home, because 3D in the home is something we all want. We think it'd be really cool if it was implemented properly, but with all of this shabby half-assed 3D that we're seeing in the home, I think it's going to damage it to where they may have to come up with a brand new term for whatever it is they're doing with glasses-free 3D.
I think you just call it glasses-free. I think that's the killer. It says, oh, that's the one that I don't have to use glasses. I think what's happening is every TV is going to start coming with 3D, but nobody's going to sign up for the 3D TV packages because they don't want to have to buy the glasses, and it's too expensive, and it just doesn't work for them. And then all of a sudden, that's going to be the big thing is, I really don't want the glasses. And then somebody's going to come with, oh, we've got the glasses-free 3D TV, and that's your big marketing differentiator, because even if it's not better picture, people will say, oh, well, that's been my big complaint, so I'm going to go buy that one.
Well, I'll tell you what you'll see, and I know that we're using the terms glasses 3D. The problem is like, look, I can't even say it. It's glasses free 3D. That's 5 syllables. What you're going to do is somebody's going to decide once it's good enough in HD and glasses free, play with if eye tracking ever comes, they're going to call it like real space or something. They're going to have some kind of awesome two-syllable word that means something as if it's a brand new invention.
3DS. 3D free.
Yeah, exactly.
3D free. Free 3D?
I like
3D. F-R-E-E-D.
Sure.
All right.
No, I totally see all that.
We got one more that's probably not such a big story, but it is our 4th big story.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Tuck in your bootstraps. It's yet another big story.
Theaters.
Oh man, I thought we agreed that we would make up our own for the 4th story because we don't have a video for it.
We would have to do work.
I know, but no, I'm saying like you and me, we've been like, guess what, America? Sit down and wear the cat's pajamas.
My whole brain got reset when I went to Montreal, so I don't remember anything from before that.
This is why you gotta stay. You can never go on vacation again, Tom Merritt. You gotta stay focused. Come on, man. I thought we had a vibe going here.
What? So, did you say something? Is it your turn to talk or is it my turn to talk? All right. Boston.com, along with pretty much every other tech news outlet in the world, has a report that many theaters are not using 3D lenses right when they show 2D films, and therefore your 3D capable theaters are ruining the 2D films. So 3D isn't only bad for people who don't like 3D, it's also hurting your 2D experience.
Yes, absolutely. And looking for the exact quote that I saw in here, but they said that there is no patron response has been overwhelmingly positive towards digital cinema. I'm looking for the exact quote. Basically, they say they don't have any policy that says it's part of that if there's a 2D movie, it needs to be the projectionist's job to swap out the lenses. And as somebody who used to run projection in a movie theater, let me tell you, if it's not in your employee handbook telling you that you must do X, Y, and Z, if it's not on the checklist, you better believe it's absolutely not being done. So anytime you go to a 4K 3D cinema, you better believe they're using the wrong lenses, because who the heck wants to switch out a lens just for a 2D show?
And if you want to know whether you're getting that proper switch out or not, look up behind you. If you see two beams of light coming out, then they didn't take off the 3D lens, and it's sending those two versions of a even though it's not two versions because it's a 2D film, but they're sending two versions towards the screen, and that's what causes the darkening. A lot of Hollywood personnel are starting to complain, but the theaters are like, it's costly. It takes some expertise, takes time.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Dave Huerta from AMC, the second biggest chain in the U.S., says, quote, "We don't really have any official or unofficial policy to not change the lens." And then meanwhile, though, when you talk to the actual projectionists, let's call, or according to the Boston.com out, they call them the phantom projectionist, believes that the unspoken AMC corporate policy is to keep 3D lenses on for 2D showings. I mean, let's face it, if you're running a business, if you're smelling popcorn 24 hours a day and you got nothing to entertain your life, making $5.50 per hour as a projection, you're not gonna look. There's a reason you're a projectionist and not a perfectionist. All right, it's because you just do your job. You're not gonna worry about image quality.
Well, he's saying it has to do with the regional managers. It's not the theater managers. He says they actually get requests. This phantom projectionist says, I would ask them to swap out the lens, and it would either go nowhere or come back with a negative from the regional technician, usually with the impression that it came from above. So it's chain-wide stuff saying, don't bother, don't mess with it.
Can I real quick?
Because I would argue that the projectionist may actually take some pride in his job, even if he's not paid or she's not paid well enough for it. But people upstairs are saying,
no. Listen. You're talking to somebody who's been there in the projectionist. Can I tell you one of my favorite moments?
I'm not saying you're wrong,
life?
but I'm saying there are people who are like, you know what, I love film so much, I actually going to take pride in this. And then there are other people who are like, this is just a job for the summer. Dude, I don't care. I'm saying they both exist.
One of my buddies who was a projectionist back in 1992, this is when Basic Instinct was in the movie theater and Beethoven's Fifth, I think, or Beethoven 2, one of the dog Beethoven movies. And there's one scene very famous in the movie Basic Instinct where she's being interviewed and she uncrosses her leg and it's a full-on shot of the female anatomy, right? Actually, because he was bored, put a sponge in the reel as it rolled on the giant platter. You have these giant film platters, and in that gap, he cut in the middle of that. I think it was a sex. Actually, maybe it wasn't that famous scene, but he took 5 frames of Beethoven the dog going and spliced it into that one spot. So anybody watching Basic Instinct, when everything's getting steamy and everyone's leaning in, it full-on Fight Club style just cuts to of a dog, and it was so fast, everyone's like, and then the moment it ran through, he put another sponge in, so he pulled it out, cut out the slice, and then put it back over in Beethoven. Those are your champions of high-quality entertainment, the projectionists.
I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that there also might be people who are like, really fans of the medium and of theaters and enjoy being projectionists. I should point out that if you wanted to watch Basic Instinct 2 right now, you could go do it at netflix.com/twit.
Oh my gosh. How easy is Netflix, dude? It's like, I keep thinking it's like it's everywhere. You don't have to worry about it. It's not like you have to sit in front of a computer. You don't have the hunched back syndrome. We're talking full on laid back. Look at how far I'm laying back. I'm watching it on my Xbox 360. I'm watching it on my Nintendo Wii.
Audio listeners can't tell, but the cup you're holding says poison, do not touch.
Oh, that's how I label all my my drinks so that nobody steals them, actually. That's my standard way to label drinks whenever I'm at a party situation.
I just want to make sure you're going to be here for the end of the show.
Okay,
or at least the end.
Full on watching high definition. And that's the other thing people don't realize. Just because it's streaming doesn't mean it's pixely and crappy. We're talking full-on 720p HD on your game console system, on your I guess you can't do HD on your iPad, but on your iPad device, on your iPhone, on your computer at home, wherever you are, we're talking thousands of titles, and it's not just movies, it's television shows as well. If you want to get caught up on stories, you know, Sons of Anarchy is a television show that my buddy CJ not shut up about. He loves it so much, and I just noticed that it's available right now for instant streamings at Netflix.com. So, in fact, I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand. Fans have made it clear. I need to watch Fringe. Between you and me, Tom, I love you enough. I'm going to tell you flat out, totally going to watch Sons of Anarchy first because it's there. It's free. It's one click away. Whatever device I'm on, doesn't care. It's totally device agnostic. It's so easy to watch, and you do it. You know, and you're not a D-bag. You're not going to your torrent sites and ruining it for the rest of us. That's what I love about Netflix instant streaming.
Instantly watch Sons of Anarchy or any other movie or TV pick that you like off of Netflix for free right now. Sign up for a 30-day free trial at netflix.com/twit, and we thank them for their support of Frame Rate. That means, folks, it's time for Film Foul. Wow.
See? That's it.
It's getting better. That font.
You pulled it all together.
That typeface, though.
No, you're right. The typeface is a little bit off. It's all of a sudden you got this World War I typeface in there. I'm not sure about that, but yeah.
That's the only thing left to make it absolutely perfect. All right, a bunch of Film Foul news today. All Things D reporting that another Facebook movie is coming called The Future of Us. The book is set in 1996, concerns two friends who sign on to AOL only to find their pages on Facebook from 15 years in the future.
I love this premise. I think this is a great idea for a show. And the fact that it's already out as a book tells me I need to see if it's on Audible.com.
Actually, the book will be published in November.
It's not even out yet? Oh, you're such a tease. Boo! Wait, the book's not even out, but they have a movie coming?
They have a movie deal already for a book that's not out.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea, especially for somebody like me who has fond memories of those early days when the internet was such a novelty and we all had no idea what the future ramifications of our actions would be. What I would love is to see a bunch of crossovers, like to see these guys back in 1990 whatever run into the "Hello, my future wife" kid, or the what were some of the other greatest hits from the 1990s?
What? From the 1990s? I can't even remember what happened before I went to Montreal.
Well, I don't know. He's calling me on the house phone here.
Were there hits in the 90s?
Yeah, no, there was videos and audio clips was a big deal.
I guess there were some audio clips. Do you need to get that?
I'm going to hang up. I'm just going to ignore him.
Dancing Baby. Right, Dancing Baby. Thank you. Jason saved me.
By the way, that Dancing Baby thing always drove me nuts because the Dancing Baby was just a demo of character. Oh, they hung up. Of character animation studio from the folks who do 3D Studio Max. Like that was the default. That's the equivalent of Comic Sans dancing for you.
Yeah, right.
It's just a default package dance that they have, and it drove me nuts. Oh, the Exploding Whale. That was way 1990s.
Exploding Whale? Was that 90s? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't go to those sites, man, because I was too cool. I was only using a Lynx browser in my shell account. Freaking graphical web is for suckers. The Dark Knight Rises, Variety reports, has just signed on Matt Modine, Tom Conti, and Joey King.
So they sold this as, hey, Joker confirmed for Dark Knight Rises. And I guess
because Matt Modine played Private Joker in Stanley Kubrick's 1987 Vietnam War pick. So that makes
which
sense.
made me wonder, like, what else has Matt
Modine is going to be playing a character named Nixon, which I assume means an evil Richard Nixon.
We can now confirm that a robotic cyber future retro steampunk Richard Nixon is the big bad guy in The Dark Knight Rises. Very, very happy that we got the scoop on that one.
I'm glad we were able to do that. Also, we don't have the scoop, but you may not have heard that Benedict Cumberbatch, who you might know better as Sherlock from the BBC reimagining, the future reimagining of Sherlock, we've talked, is going to join The Hobbit.
That's awesome.
Martin Freeman, who plays Bilbo. Wait, does Martin Freeman play Bilbo? Is that right? Am I getting that right? I have suddenly a problem with my memory. But anyway, Martin Freeman does play Watson in Sherlock and is in The Hobbit. Accidentally revealed at the 2011 BAFTA Awards after the pair picked up the Best Drama. Speaking in the winner's press room, Freeman let slip to reporters that Cumberbatch would be working with him again very soon on The Hobbit.
Yes, Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins.
That's right.
Reported October 2010.
Thank you.
So
I don't know why I had
this
severe doubt about it, but yes. So we don't know what Cumberbatch is going to play.
I don't care. I'm just excited to see him in there, man. Hey, I just want to hear when are we going to get news about new seasons of Sherlock?
Well, we get a new season. I mean, there is no more news about it. We got a date already, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. But if you go look it up on Wikipedia, I think it's sometime in the fall that we're going to get more episodes.
They didn't confirm like how many episodes they're doing or anything, because I know
that they're doing 3 episodes, and one of them is based on Hounds of the Baskervilles.
Not enough. Not enough. 3's not enough.
3 is company, but not enough. I absolutely agree. Also, Slash Film reporting that Kenneth Branagh did not direct all of Thor, that in fact Avengers director Joss Whedon directed the little bit at the very end of the movie. Now, if we're going to talk about that little bit, I suppose we ought to put up a yellow spoiler alert.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Jason is
that will
totally
be coming up momentarily.
Taken unawares by this.
Hold on.
He did not know.
I'm plugging in a keyboard.
He's plugging out. You didn't have the keyboard plugged in?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, there we go. Smooth like butter, man.
Yeah, if only it could go that smooth every time.
There is a post-credit scene with Nick Fury played by Samuel Jackson. It is very Avengers-related, and Joss Whedon directed it.
So, real quick question. Did you stick around? You watched Thor. Did you stick around? Of course you stuck around for the final thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Was it different? Because just about everything Joss Whedon touched turns to genius. I mean, did it feel clever or pithy or any way?
I did not know Joss Whedon had directed it at the time because I saw it opening weekend. As you recall, I sneaked in after buying a ticket to another movie so that Justin Robert Young would not get any credit for it, and I stuck around to the end, and I didn't sit here go, that looks like it was directed by someone else. It just felt like a nice, thick, juicy add-on, but it didn't strike me as like that style is somehow different.
No. I'm not talking about style, but like, Whedon has such an ability to be so pithy and in so few words and in such short, such short scenes connote so much that just gets you excited and giddy. I'm guessing you did not feel that in your double-blind experience of watching this.
No, I failed in my perception of Whedonism.
That's fine.
But it was a very short bit, and you kind of know what to expect, which is like, okay, we're going to get a little sneak peek at this character's role in the Avengers, and I was totally satisfied. So don't get me wrong. I was like, oh, yeah, this is cool. Like, all right.
Is it true that pretty much the ending makes it clear that the bad guy from Thor is going to be the big bad guy for the Avengers movie?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I would not have predicted that. That's a bit
and in a way that is a nice little clever reveal that you don't, you're like, oh, this guy showed up. Okay. And then all of a sudden he changes and you're like, oh, he's him now. Oh.
By the way, I don't think our code is fooling anybody because I did not see the movie and I know exactly what you just described from the way you described it.
Well, at least he can't say we didn't try, and we did put up a spoiler alert, so there you go.
That's true.
Finally, first look at the Hunger Games movie. This is the young adult series that, yes, it involves vampires, but it also involves people having to win games to survive. There's no sparkly vampires.
There's no vampires.
Doesn't it involve vampires?
No. Have you read the Hunger Games?
No, I haven't. I just know my wife has, and all she reads is vampire books. It's not exactly true, but I thought she was reading The Hunger Games because it had vampires in it.
Because they're
She's
hungry
yelling.
for your
I hear her
blood.
through the door yelling, "No! My God, you idiot!"
Okay, look. If what you love are extended passages about food and clothing, but you want them set in a post-apocalyptic world that makes no sense, let me tell you, Hunger Games is the book for you. I've only read the first book, and here's the crazy part. I'm going to go on and read the next two because I'm told they get better and they change stories. But as somebody, this seems to me like the Harry Potter of post-apocalyptic fiction. And so it's hard for me to get excited about it. I'm sure the movie will be better than the books, but the book was just so obviously written for 14-year-old girls who wanted to read about strawberry, truffles from a girl who's so hungry she only has to eat sewer rats. I mean, regardless.
I have heard a different perspective on this book from those very close to me. So I'm not going to either agree or disagree with your evaluation.
Eileen wants to walk right over and defend the book. I mean, if she wants to, you can send her right in.
I'm
and
waiting
I'll
for her
talk
to
her
bust
right
through
now.
the door, actually.
What do you think of Jennifer Lawrence in costume as Katniss Everdeen?
Yes, the casting is phenomenal, and I believe I saw some chatter on Twitter that I already forgot the name, but who is it that Woody Harrelson? Ask Eileen. Who is it that Woody Harrelson was just confirmed is going to play?
Who's Woody Harrelson playing?
He's playing
Hamish,
the advisor guy. Yes, exactly.
Oh,
So it's like
Eileen just burst in. What were you going to say?
I don't know. What was Brian calling?
No, when you walked in, what did you say?
I just said, what was Brian calling me out for?
Oh no, he was just he was saying he didn't really like the Hunger Games that much.
Oh, that's fine. It's not written for him.
Okay.
That's what I said. I said that. That's exactly what I said. I said it's written for 14-year-olds.
If you didn't hear what he said, there's nothing to respond to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to repeat it.
I like it, but it's a really good series.
All right.
Totally fine. Totally fine.
We're all good here. All right, let's check in on the NSFW show summer movie draft. For those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, the NSFW show Summer Movie Draft is a cooperation of Frame Rate and NSFW show where several of us, Brian, Justin Robert Young, Jason Howell, Sarah Lane, and Cargill all got together and bid a limited amount of money on different summer movies, and then we get points for every dollar those movies make at the box office. Right now, Brian Brushwood in the lead at $332 million, Justin Robert Young second, $156 million, and Jason Howell third at $98 million. But it is early, folks. Me and Cargill haven't even had a movie that we bought play yet, so it's far from over.
We should also point out this is the first weekend that Jason Howell has even had a dog in the fight, and 3 days into Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, all of a sudden rocking $98 million. Is it just the weekend total? That include Monday as well? Probably includes Monday.
I don't think that includes Monday, actually, because I heard that figure on Sunday.
Although I have to say,
or Monday morning, sorry.
That's kind of a low amount for what I expected from Pirates. I mean, you paid 47 of your 100 Howl dollars.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope though, because 90 is maybe not awesome compared to what other sequels in the Pirates franchise have done, but 90 in 3 days is pretty awesome no matter how you slice it.
I would have been disappointed if I were you, but I'm glad you're feeling good. I'm glad you're feeling positive about it.
I think this is going to be a good purchase. 47 was a lot to pay for this, but I think it's going to be at least worth it. Maybe it's not going to be, oh my God, out of this world worth it, but it'll be at least, yeah, I feel comfortable.
You're still making more per dollar spent than Your Highness or Prom.
Yeah. Okay. So, hold on, though. It's only been 3 days, whereas those movies already went to maturity. But here's the big news. Next week is a huge face-off between Sarah, who has The Hangover Part 2, which she spent $35 for, versus Justin, who spent $31 on Kung Fu Panda 2. So these are two sequels to two successful originals. Question. Let's do a side bet between all of us right here. I got $5 that says that Kung Fu Panda beats The Hangover Part 2 in opening weekend sales.
Oh, no way. I actually know kids who are in the running to see either one or the other. Like they are old enough to see Hangover Part 2, but they're not too old to appreciate Kung Fu Panda. They are picking The Hangover Part 2.
Of course, but it's a rated R movie. There's no way a rated R movie is going to crush a rated G successful sequel to a franchise.
Although you're splitting a lot of those people that would see Kung Fu Panda with Pirates of the Caribbean that just came out and is also.
You need to stop advertising your movies. You're not going to save this on your own, all right?
I got my $5 right here that I'll put down.
Tom's got 5 on it, all right?
There
Tom
it
got
is.
5
right there.
on it.
I got 5. Here we go. There's my 5 and a bunch.
Hey, wait a minute. That's U.S. My $5 is Canadian, so you have to put 6 U.S.
Oh, what? You full on, you defected, didn't you? Are you even a U.S. citizen even more? You come back talking about their food, talking about how great it is to not be hosting the show while you're off somewhere else in some made-up fantasy land? You got to live. You live here and now, Merritt. Get it together. This $5 says that Kung Fu Panda 2 is going to crush The Hangover.
I think the way you know that I haven't defected is that a polite Canadian would have not pointed out the difference in currencies, but the money-grubbing American said, oh no, you owe 6.
So you have to be the worst of both of us. Congratulations, Cyber Merritt.
All right. Any movies that you've been watching this week? Any stuff that you've been checking out?
I discovered an unintended side effect of signing up for HBO for Game of Thrones. I never look around on television. I'm a very much, if I could cut the cord, if I didn't have kids, I would. But one of the benefits to being on HBO is the HBO On Demand service is really pretty kick-ass. And I have Time Warner. And so my father-in-law is over here. We got him watching the On Demands. He has not read the books at all. He's not somebody who digs dragons and fantasy. But, man, is he sucked into Game of Thrones. And as he was browsing around, he stumbled across How to Train Your Dragon. And he was just like, oh, is that any good? And I was like, dude, you have no idea how good How to Train Your Dragon is. And so he was like, well, maybe I'll watch the first half and then watch the second half tomorrow. And the moment he starts it, I thought, you're not going to watch the second half tomorrow. You're going to sit and watch this whole freaking thing. And holy crap balls, does How to Train Your Dragon ever stand up to repeated viewings? I've seen it like 7 times now. It is such masterful storytelling. And then because it was over, I had to. And then I went ahead and I started packing while watching Avatar. And I did not realize that the Avatar scenes, I don't know, spoiler alert, nothing. The Avatar scenes where he has to fall in love with a pterodactyl is pretty much identical to the scenes from How to Train Your Dragon. And I never thought I'd say this, but the children's show of How to Train Your Dragon is nothing less than magical with between the boy and the dragon, and Avatar doesn't hold a candle to it. Yeah, it's DreamWorks is a force to be reckoned with now, man. It's like they know how to tell stories, and I loved the represent the dragons in the way that they use cues from other animals we're familiar with in order to make us feel an association with it.
I, on the plane, watched Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow on my iPad. Because watching a movie on your iPad, frankly, just kicks the ass out of trying to watch a movie on some little screen that's like hanging up in the middle of the aisle. And I think they had the Gwyneth Paltrow country singer movie on anyway. I hadn't seen Sky Captain: The World of Tomorrow, didn't know that much about it, and absolutely loved it. It is a cliche from beginning to end. So if that's going to bother you, you're not going to like this movie. But it is an homage to the genre. It is everything George Lucas talked about what he wanted Star Wars to be when he was saying he was trying to bring back that feeling of the old serial, but do it on the big screen. It is that to a T. The performances from Gwyneth Paltrow, Jude Law, and Angelina Jolie are killer. The cinematography is killer. Editing is okay. Actually, there were a couple places where I thought the pacing was a little off. But maybe they were just trying to like pay homage to bad editing in movie series. I don't know.
That's what I loved about it is that it was honest. It made no pretenses to be anything. It almost walked up and introduced you to the fact like, hello, I'm a theme park play. You'll see everything coming a mile away.
Yeah.
And after this,
and you won't care.
Take a 5-minute break and then do it all again for a new crop of kids.
Yeah. And it was just fun. And maybe, the setting had something to do with it. I'm stuck in a plane and coach with nothing much else to do, and that
is
you know,
hilarious.
that can be sauce to the goose, so to speak.
Yes.
But it was a romp, and I really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend it as a rental for folks.
Awesome.
On to Tube Tops. Samsung is exploring 3D video on demand service with their Samsung Explore service now coming on televisions in the U.S. So if you're like, you know what, I don't really want to sign up for the stupid 3D service because it's expensive, but I would like to just kind of sample it because I bought this TV and it comes with 3D and I just want to experience it. Here's a way you could do it. They actually have dozens of pieces of free 3D content, including trailers and music videos and stuff like that, as well as some full-length content as well.
So I got a question for you. Do you know anybody, and I mean anybody that you've encountered, anybody in the chat room, anybody you deal with on a regular basis, who is truly full-on pennant-waving fan of 3D at home in the currently available technology? Is there anybody who loves it to whom this kind of service is like, oh, yeah, I totally signed up for it. This is awesome. 3D is great. You put on the glasses, and it's like you're looking through a window. Do you know one person who's that kind of fan of it?
Nope.
Chat room, by the way, I don't know if we want to cut over to them. They are very, very direct. And they say no.
And that's why I didn't put this up in a big story or anything like that, because this is just a little thing. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there as like, hey, you got one of these 3D TVs? You got a Samsung? You got an app in there? It's kind of a no-frills way to check in and see if you really hate it as much as you think you do. But, you know, it's a small thing.
Now, having
it's
said
not the
that,
thing
though,
that's gonna save 3D.
I'll tell you what, having said that, I am that guy when it comes to movies, when it comes to the true James Cameron, real 3D, something that was designed from the ground up to be a 3D experience. Avatar as 3D was one of the most magical cinematic experiences of my life. I will remember it till the day I die, and it would not have been the same if I watched it in 2D. So it's like there are those advocates, since I'm one of them, when it comes to 3D, fully immersive movie watching experience. But man, is home entertainment not ever the place to, I mean, just wait, gentlemen. Just hold off.
All right, Wired has an article up on the 7 geekiest news shows headed for your TV. I know you and Sarah covered some of these when you were covering the upfronts last week on Frame Rate. For instance, Terra Nova. I know you guys talked about that. It's got dinosaurs. You're going to love it. But
yeah,
there were,
I misread it. I guess I wasn't paying attention to the title placards for that, but it's not a different planet. They're actually going to Earth, but 85 million years in the past, which it's like, I guess it's the only way that makes sense is if it's a copy of Earth from 85 million years ago, because otherwise wouldn't, you know, living on a planet 85 million years before evolution would create men be a problem?
No, I think it assumes that civilization is doomed because it's going to die out before, or at least turn it back into cavemen. I mean, you know, there's all these Spielbergian ideas that there was an advanced civilization in the far, far past that fell and died out, and the pyramids and archaeology and all this stuff point to evidence of that, and so maybe this is another piece in that puzzle. That
I'm gonna hold on. The way I could give it the benefit of the doubt is to assume that this is some quantum parallel universe that's almost identical to ours, but technically a slightly different copy of planet Earth. Otherwise, it's just stupid. That's the same. Every time I watch The Matrix, I rewrite the reason why I have people plugged into as batteries, because using body heat power machines is asinine. Especially when you mention that you have fusion.
Did y'all talk about Awake? Cop played by Jason Isaacs wakes up after a car accident to find out his wife is dead and his teenage son has survived. A few days later, he wakes up to find his son dead and his wife alive, and he jogs back and forth between realities.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't remember that we did.
This has been done a million times before, right? There's been Journeyman. There was that show with Christian Slater where he had 2 lives and he started to realize he had these 2 secret lives. But this is a different way of doing it, where instead of time travel or instead of, you know, a secret identity, it's a guy living in 2 different universes, 2 different Earths, like you're talking about, 2 different quantum splits. But he only has half of his family in each one.
Yeah, well, so we're basically talking about Sliding Doors, the TV series.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
And
Except,
I'm down with
except
that.
he,
I'm down with
except
that because
Sliding
as far as-
Doors. Sliding Doors. Was she aware of the two different universes?
No.
See, in this
she
one
never
he
was.
is. In this one he knows.
Okay.
Like, wait a minute, my
Right.
wife was alive. Why is she dead now?
But I'll tell you what, though, this could be the kind of show, and actually Sliding Doors is a bad example because while Sliding Doors, being a chick flick, is not the kind of show I would go watch on its own, having that sci-fi hook kept me interested the whole movie through, and more importantly, it allows you to say, okay, here's the sci-fi mechanic, but the rest of the movie is all focused on people and relationships, and that is what it takes to become a success. And maybe that's what Journeyman missing when it came to as far as like a meaningful connection with the audience. If you can make me fall in love with these people and the situation that they're put into, this could be a big hit.
There's also Grimm, a fairy tale show from David Greenwald, who produced Angel and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follows a Portland, Oregon cop who finds out he's part of a group of hunters known as Grimms who are trying to stop the proliferation of supernaturals in the world.
That sounds awesome. I'm down.
I'm down with that. Also, The River, Dr. Emmett Cole, a famed nature show personality, goes missing in the Amazon. Nothing is heard from him. 6 months later, his emergency beacon goes off, and his family, good friends go searching for him.
I'm down with that, too.
Yeah, good stuff. And Napoleon Dynamite, the animated series?
Question mark? Look,
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit there's a number of shows, to be honest, and maybe for ill, the way I feel about an animated Napoleon Dynamite TV series is exactly how I felt when I heard that there was going to be a Buffy the Teenage Vampire Slayer TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the kind of thing that I thought, wow, is there ever not a need for this? And this just seems silly. This was a forgettable movie that was quirky and odd and didn't need its own television show. And sure enough, I was shown way wrong with Buffy. Maybe I'll be shown way wrong with Napoleon Dynamite.
What's interesting about this, they have the entire original cast voicing it, which used to be a problem, but voiceover has become big in Hollywood. And so now, instead of being seen as a step down, it's seen as a valuable thing to get into. So I think it's interesting that they're able easily, well, maybe not easily, but they were able to get the entire original cast from the movie for this. If this had been made in the 70s, it would have been entirely different voices. And they just, like with MASH, they got one person from the movie to be in the television show, and that wasn't even voiceover. That was actual acting. Finally, I got this press release this morning, a link to the trailer of the first ever footage ever seen from the highly anticipated Starz original series Torchwood Miracle Day, premiering Friday, July 8th at 10 p.m.
I missed this. I didn't see that you stuck this into the document. You're gonna play it right now, right? You're gonna play it, and I'm gonna watch it.
I slipped this in right before the show. Let's take a look.
Statement.
I had a pole through my chest. I was dead, then I wasn't.
24 hours, no one's died. Not one.
Miracle Day. Miracle Day. It's like someone cast a spell over the whole world.
Did you ever hear of Torchwood? It's some kind of British intervention agency. Gwen Cooper and Captain Jack Harkness.
Down!
Captain Jack Harkness. Nice to meet you.
Torchwood Institute investigates the unusual, the strange, and the alien.
When are you gonna let me go? My sentence was carried out successfully.
He's not indestructible, just undying.
What if you detach the head?
CIA?
Yeah? So what?
The amazing thing about the miracle is that it happened to everyone at the same time.
These are the times that make men stride across the skin of the world.
This is the truth. For the whole world to see.
If you're the best England's got to offer, then God help you.
I'm Welsh.
So
I like that last line.
I got the vibration that this was very much made for fans of the existing Torchwood property, right? Because there's
not at all.
It was
no.
well
I
done.
feel the opposite. Having watched the previous series, there's nothing in here that requires me to know anything about Torchwood to understand it.
Well, no, I agree with that, but the problem is there's also nothing in here that gets me more excited for the show than I already experienced with the teaser, because it was a restatement of plotline setup and mentioning that Torchwood is a British agency.
Let me refer you to the text of the press release. Below is a link to the trailer, the first footage ever seen from the highly anticipated Starz original series. This is the teaser.
Well, but what we heard before was
what we saw before was leaked footage, not authorized. This is actually the first official trailer. So that makes.
And I say go back to just the voice, because I love the whole there was more mystery in that original leaked footage or leaked trailer where it was just the audio and it conveyed the plot line without saying anything, right? Having the visuals, I felt like reduced the mystery for me, reduced the possibilities of what might be, and did not add. Like, I didn't see any Michael Bay level amazing, explosions or scenes that made me think, oh, no, I definitely got to watch this now. Does that make sense?
Someone in the chat room says the other one we saw was the BBC trailer.
Well, then go back to the BBC trailer, because that one was engaging.
Really? This did not get your blood going. That's interesting.
No, it did, but it was the visuals added not enough to reduce what the taking of mystery did as far as my interest in this project. Does that make sense?
Well, it does make sense, but it means that once you actually get to see what the show looks like, you're not interested anymore. That you like the concept more than the execution.
That's just it. Is when you have an original teaser, you get a rough outline and pitch for what you're going to see, and you mentally project what you think you're going to see in all the gaps. Then you get a more detailed trailer, and hopefully what happens is the visuals that they show you in the teaser trailer or in the visual trailer are so much better than what you would imagine. You get more excited for it. And then finally you get the final experience, and it's so high fidelity and the story is so rich, you get sucked all the way into it. And what I'm saying is maybe my projections for both the plot lines and the story and the visuals were a little higher than what was delivered on this version.
All right, real quickly, stuff we've been watching. I want to give a shout out to Neil Gaiman, who wrote a brilliant episode of Doctor Who 2 weeks ago, not this previous weekend, but the weekend before. In fact, I would say, Brian, if you're not interested in going back and getting into Doctor Who, just go watch that episode. It's crazy good.
I've been waiting for a jumping back on point. This could be it. That's fantastic.
And then, of course, this past week's episode was a classic Doctor Who episode, and I like that as well. But let's talk Game of Thrones. Let's just get right into it. I know you haven't seen. Actually, you know what? Before we talk Game of Thrones, I want to put Game of Thrones in the interference section.
That's fine. That's right.
Because most of what I want to talk about is the web aspect of it. So let's take a moment and thank Squarespace for their support of Framerate. You can get a free trial of Squarespace at squarespace.com/framerate. And when you do, you're going to find yourself making a good-looking blog that looks professionally designed. All you got to do is pick a few options, and it looks professionally designed. Allows you to go under the hood and personalize it as much as you want. And is safe and reliable. This thing's going to stay up. They can adapt the bandwidth to whatever you're delivering. If you've got a popular video up there, if you get suddenly a ton of traffic, you've got the backing of Squarespace behind you. It really works well. Also have iPhone and iPad apps that are just gorgeous to use. Special support team to give you personal help 24 hours a day if you do run into anything that you have questions with, 7 days a week. All-inclusive service includes modules to build your website, import modules for WordPress, Movable Type, and Typepad. There's really no reason not to give Squarespace a try. We're giving you a free 14-day trial right now. So why not go try it out right now? Squarespace.com/framerate. Sign up for a free account. No credit card needed. And I think you'll like what you see when you give it a shot. Time now for Interfera. So the reason I want to move Game of Thrones here, okay, you haven't seen last week's episode yet, right?
No, and I was upset. I mean, I say was 30 minutes ago. I thought I was only one episode behind, but then you got to rub salt in my wounds, saying that I'm 2 episodes behind because I'm out here in Las Vegas. The hotel doesn't have HBO, so I wasn't able to watch it Sunday night. But on top of that, I guess not only did they show episode 6, but now they're leaking episode 7 in advance.
Yeah, so they made a big deal about HBO Go, which I know is a sore point for you because you're on one of the few cable systems in the U.S. that doesn't have an agreement with HBO, so you can't use it because of Time Warner Cable. But DirecTV now has it, Dish has it, Comcast has it. There's a few, most of the others do. And I was able to use HBO Go now. I've been using it ever since it got the agreement with DirecTV, and I've been liking it. I've watched a couple episodes of Game of Thrones on it just because I didn't want to bother pulling up the DVR. It was actually easier to just pull it up on HBO Go. So I'm a big
I'll tell you, man, it's like I
service.
get frustrated. I get frustrated looking at all the possible because it's all of their past stuff. You're talking about like Eastbound and Down. You're talking about Entourage. The complete The Wire, I'm sure, is on there. I assume it said all of HBO content.
Treme.
You could take The Wire experiment straight through on your iPad, same way you and I watched it, only without spending $1 an episode.
So here's the deal. When they showed Game of Thrones this Sunday, they made a huge deal before the show and a huge deal after that if you used HBO Go, if you went and signed up right now, you'll see next week's episode before everyone else. So it's still going to air next week, but you get it a week early on HBO Go. So go sign up for HBO Go. All right, I'm already signed up. I'm golden, right? As soon as episode 6 is done, I pick up the iPad, launch the HBO Go app. Suddenly, I'm not signed in anymore. Well, okay, it lost the sign. I try to sign in, just hangs on the authentication page. So I'm like, I'll try the iPhone. Doesn't work on the iPhone. Let's try the Nexus S. Doesn't work on the Nexus S. Go into the back room to the Google TV. Turn on the Google TV. Finally get it logged in. All right, so now I've got it. There's the big thing. It's like, watch episode 7 a week early. I click play. It plays the little like HBO, stinger, and then just hangs. Doesn't it? So I had to do that a couple times. Finally, I get going, but it's at a really low bit rate. So it looks kind of awful. But I'm like, well, at least I'm watching it. I'll just watch it again in HD next week. So I'm watching it. As it goes, the bit rate improves, and it starts to look full HD. And so I'm into it. I'm fine. Then, because I'm using Google TV, I'm using the web version of HBO Go. At some point, I decide I need to pause. So I pause. I press play. It goes all the way back to the beginning of the episode. So then I have to skip forward and find the part where I was and start playing from there again. Okay, no problem. I'm going again. But this time when I make it full screen, the big thing that stands in the middle that says press escape to exit full screen doesn't go away. So I keep going back and forth trying to make it doesn't go away, doesn't go away, doesn't go away. After my pausing problem, I'm like, I don't want to have to restart this because I have to fast forward again. So I finally just go back to the non-full screen version, and I'm able to actually see the picture. It gets to within 3 minutes of the end of the episode, right? Where one of the guard takes an important message and starts to read it, and as he's like, it says, and then it hangs. And so I have to say, it's been hanging every so often up to this point, and all I did was like, it's hanging at this point, so I went back a few minutes so that the buffer would have a chance to fill, and then it would start playing fine. So I do the same thing. I go back. I'm like, I just need the buffer to fill again. It gets to that same point, stops over and over and over again. I cannot get it to play past that point. So finally, I give up on HBO Go on the Google TV. I shut it off. I go to my iPad. I am able to log in for some reason, and I start playing it. I fast forward. I'm able to watch the last 3 minutes on my iPad. But it took me 2 hours to watch the 50-some minutes of Game of Thrones Episode 7.
Could this be, and this is pure shit on my part, and I hope I'm totally right here, could this be that, number one, you have a novel offering for people to have a motivating factor to actually get online and subscribe to HBO Go, combined with the fact that you have an engaging story with a rabidly passionate fan base behind it, where not only do people love the show, but the people who love the books love the show? And could it be that all this means HBO got unprecedented demand for their cord-cutting friendly strategy with HBO Go.
That's exactly what it means. Because there were plenty of people on Twitter saying, working fine for me, which means they were in the queue ahead of time, right? And so they weren't running into all of these issues. HBO was not prepared for the amount of traffic they were going to get. But I have to say, that is a cardinal sin if you're going to promote it as strongly as you did. If you're going to get up there in front of everyone and say, go now, all of you. We know exactly how many of you are watching HBO right now. Go now, all of you, and watch this online. You got to be prepared.
You forget you're talking to the kings of old media. They're a little bit touched in the brain pan. They don't comprehend the cord-cutting passion that most people have. To them, they're thinking, and then we'll get a few of those internet geeks to hop on the HBO Go. Like, hopefully, this is a slap in the face. This is the cold water splashed all over them that makes them realize that if you can get on board, if you can be first HBO, if you can acknowledge that people just want to pay a membership to your clubhouse and enjoy your content anywhere they are, then you can rule this new emerging space. And I hope that they heard the message.
I hope so too, and I think you're right. This is a slap in the face, and I don't know if it's because they're old media or if it was just one IT guy's decision to be like, I don't think the bandwidth will be that much. Who knows what it was, but it is a wake up call, whatever it is. All right, we're totally beyond running long. Do we want to?
No, in fact, we could save the time travel article. That was a filler anyway, but in Interferon. I want to touch real quick on the Wired article about this Zero Charisma project that we played at the beginning of it. These are a couple of, as it turns out, they're right here in Austin, Texas. I say here, I'm in Las Vegas, but they're in my hometown of Austin, Texas. They wanted $15,000 to create the Zero Charisma movie, and as it stands right now, they're almost up to $23,000 of funding at Indiegogo. And one of my favorite parts of the Wired article was talking about, now obviously if you listen to it even on audio, I hope you're able to to hear that it's about some hardcore geeks who love D&D and some hipster joins their crew, and it really messes things up. One of the biggest, the quote I love is that the producers say, we had one gal who donated a large chunk of money who just said, I'm a dungeon master, and I work at a company that's infested with hippies. So thank you for, I said hippies, that's infested with hipsters. So thank you for making this movie. And I love the follow-up quote, which is so true. Before the movie is even made, or connecting with the idea, and that's really gratifying. Absolutely. That's totally true.
No, I think it is tone perfect in picking up on a very new situation, which is it's kind of cool to be a geek. And so now the cool guys are coming in to be geeks, and it's so well done because it's playing on so many different stereotypes, some old and some new. I think it's absolutely fascinating.
And to be honest, that's the kind of thing. If because the underlying theme of the episode is we want geekdom back, then that all of a sudden turns the negative of how rough around the edges, how cheaply made the movie appears to be at face value, it turns that into a positive to where, of course, that's how the movie needs to look, because we need to, this is our movie and it's our message, and it's going to look rough around the edges, just like the way, we, the true geeks, do.
Just like the dungeon master who is the hero of the story looks a little rough around the edges. Exactly. All right, I think we got time to pick 2 emails to read. I know which one I want to read.
One. We had two emails completely separate from each other talking up the show The Killing. So we'll do a quick one here. Michael says, longtime listener, first-time caller, are either of you watching The Killing on AMC? The show is great drama that consistently manages to surprise me with deep characters who make some seriously awful decisions following the murder of a high schooler. It's a bit like a cross between Twin Peaks and a 13-hour episode of CSI, but with more awesome and less freaking weird. Good stuff. Regards, Mike. And the email that we got was talking about the original Forberdelsen, which is the Danish version upon which this is based. They're watching them side by side and having a fantastic experience.
I like the Twin Peaks part of it. I'm not sure about the 13-hour CSI part of it.
Well, I mean, I think what they're saying is it's a 13-hour mystery they solving over time.
Okay, that's
nothing
cool.
wrong
I like the idea of that, definitely. Gaspar wrote in and said, Cappy to me, show details May 18th, 6 days ago. What does that mean?
Okay, hold on. Come on, Tom. You're smarter than that. Come on.
1960.
That's
what? What?
Is that?
What?
Are you that lost? Did you leave your brain in Canada? Come on. Where's Tom Barrett?
He says, hello again, Brian and Tom. I need your opinion. I plan on reading both the Dark Tower series and the Game of Thrones series audiobook format. Now I need to decide which to read first, Game of Thrones that I'm currently watching or the Dark Tower that may come to video soon. Thanks again and keep up the fantastic work, Gasper. That's a tough call. I'm in the middle of Wolves of Calla right now for the Dark Tower series. And by the way, I was very pleased to hear on last week's Frame Rate that the Dark Tower is back on track to be a movie and TV show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would say Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I would too, because you got time, because you only started the Great Dark Tower journey, and understand you're taking the extended route with all of the side novels, and you're only, what, like 5-6 months into it?
I believe I started in October. I was trying to remember that this morning, actually. So November, December, January, February, March. Yeah, it's 6 months, exactly.
Okay, and you only have 2 books left at this point, so you've almost completed the whole.
Well, I have 3 books left on the extended journey. I only have 2 in the series and then 1 external.
Yes. Oh, wait, but that's only a short story. Are you going to read? Which one is the one you're saving for after the story?
It's the second part of the Peter Straub, Black House.
Oh yeah, no, you should do that before all that. Yeah, correct. Have you read? I apologize for going off topic here. Have you read the short story Everything's Eventual?
No, I haven't read any of the short stories.
Okay,
I've only been reading.
But
the novels.
you did do Hearts in Atlantis, though,
I did,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's what I say. You got time for the Dark Tower. They got tons of production to go for it. And even when it does come down to it, let's say once you're a year out, you'll be able to stay ahead of the movies with no trouble. Meanwhile, now's the time to get into Game of Thrones, because if you start now, if you burn through it, then you can enjoy the new Game of Thrones book coming out. Was it June or July?
It's coming out July 12th.
Yeah, see, that'll be perfect. Start now, Game of Thrones. Get all the way caught up to Dance Dragons. Roy Dotrice is amazing. Is as good as Frank Miller.
And I think you'll enjoy the TV series more reading if you've read the books.
Yes.
I really do. And watching the TV series makes me want to reread the books.
Absolutely.
Which I don't have time for. But yeah.
It's almost like it's rubbing it in my face. Like, remember this, remember that, remember this other thing. It's like, I got to go back and read them all now.
All right, that's it for this episode of Frame Rate. Thanks, everybody, for checking in, listening, watching, however you consume it. Good to be back in the saddle. Good to be back with you, Brian Brushwood. I missed you, man.
Dude, I feel like Rose coming back.
Frame Rate
Good
Show.
To see you, Tom.
Oh, man. FrameRateShow@gmail.com is the email address if you would like to send us your feedback. As many of you do, we read every one of them. Brian even responds to a bunch of them, so please send it. We'll see you next week.
Love you.